Ready or not, here you guys come. Just kidding. So we're going to get into graphing this tangent function. The directions say, yes, read the directions. Graph one period. We're only doing one. We're not doing many because it's just going to repeat after that. They're all going to be identical, just going down the line. We have 2 tan 3x. First things we want to do, we want to label the pieces in our equation. Our a is 2. That means we have a vertical stretch of 2, like I talked about in the prior video. And then our b value is 3, which means our period is pi over 3. Don't forget, our starting value for tangent is negative pi over 2. Okay, let's go ahead and get this table together. I'm gonna over here do a little sketch of my other table just for the tan function. Super small, clearly. I didn't leave myself enough room, goodness. That's a 0, that's 1, pi over 4, pi over 2, and that's undefined. Okay, that's what we're starting with. All right, now that we have those 5 points, we can work with this. So our starting value is at negative pi over 2. And then our ending value is pi over 3 plus that. So we need to go ahead and look at negative pi over 2 plus pi over 3. These don't have common denominators, so we're going to need to change that. So it's negative 3 pi over 6 plus 2 pi over 6, and looks like we're going to be ending at a negative pi over 6. So we are looking at smaller fractions now. So I encourage you, if you need, to go ahead and change that first piece. Instead of negative pi over 2, we're going to change it into negative 3 pi over 6. So that we're working with the same denominators. For some people, this is easier. Others, you guys can just keep it, but this helps count fractions. Directly in the middle of negative 3 pi over 6 and pi over 6 is a negative 2 pi over 6. So that's our third piece. Now we need to find the number that's directly between negative 3 pi over 6 and negative 2 pi over 6. That's like negative 2.5 pi over 6, which you can't really do that. So we're going to be cutting things into 12ths. So it's basically like if you have pizza and you can't cut it anymore, you have to cut it again into more equal pieces. That's what we're doing. So these pieces are going to be in 12ths, which means that's a negative 6 pi over 12, and this is negative 5 pi over 12, negative 4 pi over 12, and negative 3 pi over 12. And there are our 5x values. This one's kind of, I don't like the word gnarly, but it's kind of gross. So some of these should be easier. It's just the 3 made it really gross. All right, now we need to work with our y values, which are y values. Undefined times anything is undefined. 0 times anything is 0. So that makes it nice and easy that we only have to do 2 things. We have a vertical stretch and a factor of 2. That means I had negative 1 and now I have negative 2 when I multiply it by 2. And then 1 times 2 is 2. And there are my 5 points. And they are complete and ready to go into my graph. And actually, this is a negative, very negative problem. So I'm going to put my line over here so that I can build backwards. I'm going to count these into 12ths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, negative 10 pi over 12. The reason why I did that was so that I had even pieces for my graph. And then, well, we're just going to do 1, 2, 1, 2, negative 2. All right. Going in graphing, if these are tick marks are all by a negative pi over 12 markings, my first point right here, that's going to be at a 6 pi over 12 in the negative 6 pi over 12. And that's going to be an asymptote. So wherever you see undefined, that is an asymptote. And that means this one right here is also an asymptote. That's my 5th point. Then I have negative 2, 0, 2. And this one is a funky kind of ish curve. It's never 100% beautiful when you draw it. But that is it. And that is one period from negative 3 pi over 6 to a negative pi over 6 with all those beautiful pi over 12s in the middle. So I didn't label it very good, so I labeled that to show that the 10th piece was a negative 10 pi over 12, so we can go from there. But just make sure you're labeling your graphs. All right, hopefully the next one's not as bad as this one. Go ahead, this is the end of the video. You guys are going to go into the next slide and do the next example.